I made songs with my brother and DJ'd and just all kinds of art. I sang on stage and performed in
Wow.
plays. Yeah. So just
Cool.
overall creative, and I consider myself better at it than the stuff that was out there.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Britney Spears just puts out like some 2-chord, 3-chord song and fluff and whatever. So I'm just I'm like judging her nonstop, and then I'm judging like all the like Nirvana. It's just like hello, like, and I'm just like, oh, it's so simple. It's so so I judge simplicity. I judge catchiness. I judge pop. I judge people who didn't write their own stuff. Judge. Like, I'm better, and they're not worthy of my respect. But it's actually the opposite. The reason they're so famous is because simplicity is hard. Catchiness is hard.
It's very hard. Yeah.
Having someone else write your own stuff, that sounds lazy and easy, but it's not. Collaborations and connections with other human beings, tricky. To get someone to write your stuff in a way that suits you, that feels good to you, and you guys work well together, and you work at a royalty share or pay them whatever they're comfortable with, like, even that, like, even getting someone to write your stuff for you is trickier than people think. And especially if you get someone good. Like, I want you to write this and I want it to be a hit. Well, could you do that? Could you go out today and get someone to write you a hit? Way harder than you think.
Yeah.
So if Britney got someone to write her a hit, I'm all for it. Like, I was so wrong about so many things. But it's a teenage thing to do, especially a smart, gifted teenager. Oh, they gotta, yeah, I'm better than all these artists, man. They don't know nothing. Like, it's a teenage thing to do. But I was like that for longer than I like to admit, and I ended up like failing so many businesses. Like, I try to make money off my art too, right? Like,
yeah,
I start a t-shirt company, or I start a web design company, or I start a portraiture or art exhibition, like an arts company, or graphic design, or whatever, a blog. I try to make money off a blog, like, and they all failed. And for someone who thinks they're better than everyone, it's soul crushing. Like, you're told your whole life you're a genius, you're a family of geniuses, your parents were geniuses, you're in the gifted program, you have a high IQ, you're like bored at school and like skipping and still acing it, and just and then like you think you're better than all these celebrities, and then you can't succeed.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. And so then I ended up broke and alone and abandoned and isolated and homeless for 2-3 years, 2.5, I don't know the exact number, a lot of years. So I'm living on the streets, and it's like, what happened to my life? Like, how do you pick out a genius with all these blessings, and this is where the guy ends up? And then I start thinking about Van Gogh and like Tesla and all these geniuses in the past who like were amazing, but they died penniless. Was it Edgar Allan Poe or H.P. Lovecraft? One of them did it too. Like, just, and I'm like, I don't want to end up like them, but maybe I am. Like, maybe it's the exact same path.
Yeah.
And so like one night I was in like an abandoned mall, like a mall that was closed, so all the stores are closed, and it was winter, so I was freezing. Like, I would have been freezing if I didn't stay in shelter. So I'm like, maybe I can stay in this closed mall, but like, I don't know, sleep on like a cold tile floor, but there's security guards patrolling it. Like, do I like avoid them or what? And so then I started trying all the bathrooms in the mall. They're all locked, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to get like worried, and I had a huge backpack with me because it's all my belongings. And I eventually found one bathroom that was open, and so I spent the night there, but I couldn't really sleep because it was like harsh fluorescent light and a really unpleasant environment. So I just kind of like stayed awake, but at least I was sheltered from the winter. And I was like bawling and crying.
Yeah.
Like that night I decided, like, all right, like I'm screw it, I'm gonna kill myself. But I even failed at that because I have really high standards for everything I do. That's why I thought I was better than everyone, because I always did it better. Rise it up, right? And so like I was like, if I'm gonna kill myself, I'm gonna do it better. So none of this messy like splatter my brains in the thing or gunshot or whatever. Like I'm gonna do it like in a peaceful, like classy way. So maybe poison, but like it's not super reliable. There's tons of people who take poison, just end up like puking it out on the street or in a hospital or whatever. I'm like, well, that's not very reliable. I would do, if I'm gonna do it, it's gonna be awesome. So then I started looking into like veterinarians and like what they do to put animals down, and there's this drug, I can't remember the name now, it was so many years ago, I think pentophenylbarbitol or something. And there's an institute in Sweden, called the Dignitas Institute that helps elderly like cancer people and cancer patients and stuff, like people in pain, like exit life peacefully with dignity. Dignitas, and they use this method. So I was like, all right, I'm onto something. I have found the best way to kill yourself. Serious, like. And so then I started trying to source the drug, and I found it like on the black market or internet or something, dark web or whatever you call it, and it was pricey, so it would have taken like all that I could save up or all that I could like have or manage. Like maybe if I sold everything or something in my backpack, I could get it. So I was like, all right, I got this. But then you need an address to ship it to, and it's going to be marked like veterinary supplies, or it's going to be marked pharmaceuticals or whatever. And I'm like, I don't have an address. Like I don't live anywhere.
What do you think is
like, I could borrow an address, but like I don't want a friend questioning this. That's gonna ruin everything. They might just hold on to it or whatever, right? Like, or like, so I can't send it to a PO box because you can't ship. They won't ship the pharmaceuticals to a PO box. And I'm like I'm like just like I've failed at everything in life. Like I can't even like go out the way I want to.
Yeah.
So I ended up just laying in a park, doing nothing. And like I was like, well, maybe I'll just starve here. And so like, I don't know, a day passed where I just laid in the park, morning till night. And the next morning woke up and I'm like, seriously, I have to lay here for another day? Like I'm super bored.
Yeah.
And it was a huge turning point because being bored is amazing. Being bored is a lifesaver. But I'd never been bored in my life. I was always creating something or helping society or trying to succeed or doing something or showing off or like trying a new business or whatever, like doing these different projects, like just hustling, super productive. I was always super productive, and I still am, but in a different way. Because I thought like I was raised like that's how you succeed. You grind it out, you hustle, you're always productive, you're never like lazy or lethargic or boredom should be solved instantly. Go do something. Like but no, being bored for a day and a half was like, or 2 days was like the best thing that ever happened to me, because just laying there being bored, I was like, I don't really want to do anything. And that's actually like an authentic thing. Like I was finally being authentic. I wasn't judging anyone. I wasn't living up to some expectations or obligations. I wasn't trying to succeed in society, or I wasn't even like trying to kill myself. I was literally just doing nothing. And after that, like a little like spark came up, like, well, I'm hot and I'm tired and I'm bored and it's summer in this park and I'm just gonna find some shade or air conditioning. That's it. It's like, but that was an authentic thing. It wasn't me trying to live up to anything or be a certain way. It was if I'm not gonna die and I'm not gonna live, the least thing I could do right now, like that feels vaguely better than nothing is air conditioning. So I went to a library, and I enjoyed the library more than a park. So I was now doing something I enjoyed technically. Like, I was living on the streets and I had no prospects, and I was carrying a giant pack on my back, but like I was actually like happy because I went from bored and hot to bored and air conditioned or comfortable. I made a decision that made me happy. And so then I was bored in the library, so I was reading, and I got bored of reading, and I was like, I'll use one of their computers, or I'll set up my laptop on their table. And so I set up my laptop on their table, and I started giving advice on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I was on like this forum and that forum, Lipstick Alley, breastnexus.com, and then Evan's forums and some other business forums, and I was just giving advice over and over because there's plenty of people like talking, and none of them like understood what I understood. None of them, they're like complaining about longevity or immortality, and I'm like, I know more than you. Or like the breast nexus chicks are talking about how to grow boobs and slim down and be firm, and I'm like, I know more than you. And like people on Model Mayhem were like, how do I, make my photos better? And I'm like, I know more than you. And like people on the music forums are like, how do I make a hit? And I'm like, well, I've got stuff to share. Like I thought just like you. Like I thought Britney sucked, but no, you should be learning from her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then like people are asking about business, and I'm like, they don't know I've failed so many businesses, but because I failed so many businesses, like I had a lot of wisdom to share.
Yeah.
And they'd be worried, like, what if I like can't make it, or I end up homeless or broke or alone? And I'm like, don't worry, it's not as bad as you think. Like, just go out there and do it. Like,
yeah.
So I'm just giving advice, and everyone started to love it. And so like, I was doing more things that I enjoyed, and I'm like, well, it beats being in the park. I might as well go here and give advice, and I feel useful to society. And so now here I am, like years later, helping leaders rise, shaping beliefs, giving wisdom. Like, that's the story.
That's a beautiful story.
Thank you. I'm glad you asked.